Hello friends and welcome back to Self-Smarting with your host Rongo the Bold. We're going to pick up where we left off last session and we're going to talk about Hals Prefab Editor. In this episode we're going to talk more about editing the prefabs themselves in the editor and about how to work with the prefabs XML file and how to really kind of place things in the world the way you want to. So we have here our prefab that we inserted into the world last time. You can see snow kind of comes along. It does impact into the prefab, which is not necessarily desirable. So if you want to try and get in here, you can't quite get in because it's too tall. I mean, you could dig the dirt out, but that's not what you want to have to do. So we need to fix that, and I'll show you how that's done. And we're also going to do a few other things with these prefabs. So what we're going to do first off is we'll quit out of the game, because in order to make any changes to that save world, you need to be out of that game. So first steps. I've got my prefab open here. Again, to do that, we would open our prefab editor, open that up, and you would open your last file. So RTB blocky thing is the name of our file. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to clear the regions, which will delete all things that have been placed. So that clears that out. Now I'm also going to go and click this error blocks. So when you do that, all blocks that are error, as you can see down in the block info area here, these are all error blocks. When you do that, error blocks are copied into the game as well, because right now they're just empty. But if you click error blocks, an error block becomes an error block in the world, and I'll show you what that means here. So we got that done. We've saved this file. So now that's saved with error blocks on. So we're going to go out of here. I'm going to go into the Navsgain prefab. So basically the prefabs location in your Steam directory, Steam apps, commons, 7 days to die, data, worlds, and either Navsgain or random maps. So I'm in the Navsgain. There's a prefabs XML file. I'm going to go ahead and edit this in Notepad++. So this contains a list of all of the prefabs that are created in the game and their location and their rotation. And I'll show you rotation here in a little bit. But first off, we're going to go down. When we insert those into the world, it should create a line at the very bottom with the new object we've inserted into the game. So there's our object in the game. I'm going to take this out because we have a new one that we want to insert into the world. So I'm going to save this file. Save. I always hit save 3 times for some reason. It's just a habit of mine. And then we're going to go back to the prefab editor. It's running already. Rongo, don't do it twice. So I'm going to go to the world, Navsgain, prefabs. I'm going to add this prefab at the player location. And again, in case you didn't remember, basic editing here is plus and minus goes up and down in the layers, top, bottom of the object, and the error blocks copies that stuff. So I'll show you how this works, and we'll be good to go here. So this is being inserted in the world at 12:58:60:111. That's where the player is currently located. So that's where it got inserted into the world. So now that that's saved, we've inserted it into the world. Let's go back to 7 days to die. Continue our game. Now, all that snow should be gone from inside of our prefab. Let's cross our fingers and hope that actually worked. And it did. I know it did. So there's that position. And I misspoke last time when I said that it kind of puts it one off from the player location. That block actually is where it spawns. So basically the bottom left of your editing window is where that block is, right there. So that is indeed where it spawns. And as you can tell, the snow is not inside of our prefab anymore, which is exactly what we want to do. So anytime you're doing that, you want to check that air blocks on. Otherwise, if it clips through the world, weird things happen. So you want to make sure that is off. So the next thing we're going to do is show you how the prefab window, or the prefab XML file works. So the first thing is you want to know where you are in the world if you want to add an object. So bring up your console with the tilde key, which is above the tab, and I'm going to type LP, or you can type list players, either way. And LP is short for that, so it tells me that my character, Rongo the Bold, is at position 1254.1, 61, 109.5. So this is X, Y, and Z position. So X position is your east-west position. The Y position is your position in the vertically in the world from bedrock to sky. So we're 61 blocks up from bedrock. And the Z position is your position north-south. So in the Navsgain map, 00 is somewhere south of Dyersville. So we are 1,254 blocks east of that location and 109 blocks north of that location. So if we go into the map, just for example, oops, let me close that. If we go into the map, you can see down the bottom left-hand corner the position. So basically 110 north, 1252 east is roughly where I am. And you know, if I look, zoom out, you know, oh, it's actually Dyersville. So down here, so there is 00, roughly there. So that's where 00 is. Actually, it's just east or just west of Dyersville. So does that make sense, everybody? I hope. So that's how you know where you are in the world, and that's important when you're inserting objects into the world. So what I'm going to do, we have this in the world. We're going to go ahead and quit out of this game. We're going to open that prefabs.xml file up one more time. So let's go ahead and tab out of here. So again, 7 days to die, or Steam apps, common, 7 days to die, data, worlds, Navsgain, prefabs.xml. So we'll edit this file. All right, so here's all the files. Our location is at the bottom, and I'm gonna just tab this. It doesn't matter, but I'll just tab it over. I like clean XML, so I'm gonna paste this in 3 more times. All right. So I also noticed one thing that I'll fix right away, and that is the vertical position. Did you notice that it was like 1 block down in the snow? I'm gonna move it up 1 block in the world. So I'm gonna edit this file 1 block, so it moves it up 1 block. Now rotation is, by default, the block sits in as it is in the editor. That's 0. Now it rotates by 90 degrees for each number you add in here. So basically it's 1 times the number 90 is the number times 90 degrees rotation. So if I rotate it by 90, right now the opening of the building is on the east side. So if I add 1 here, that rotates it by 90 degrees. So now the opening should be at the south. I rotate it by 2 90s, so that's 180 degrees. So now the opening should be on the west side. And by 3 90s, so 270 degrees. So now the opening should be on the north side. So right now the object is in the same position. So remember, when I did that list player, I got my position off of it. So rather than have it all appear in the same spot and kind of overlap everything, I'm going to move it south by 20 blocks. So if I go 90, 70, 50, so now every 50 blocks, or every 20 blocks south, there should be a new copy of RTB blocky thing, rotated differently. So let's go ahead and save this file. We'll go into the game again. Start this up, and we should see a nice row of these objects. So there's our first one. Oh, I forgot to do one important step. You always need to clear your region file, otherwise the game is saved as is. So you got to go into your prefab editor. I'm glad I made that mistake so you guys could see it happen. Prefabs, clear all regions. Okay, now we're good and golden. So we go back to our game again. Continue the game. Start. And now it's moved up 1 block, as you can see. So now it actually doesn't clip into the ground. It's all beautiful. So there is snow inside because the snow is on the ground. So this is sitting on the ground. So that's a little actually bad. So for example, if I have a shovel, I know I can just shift click it. If I had a shovel, it would be very easy for me to collapse this building because I could just take the shovel out. Because, you know, so yes, it's not clipping into the ground, but it's also actually you'd want to have it on the actual ground surface. So 60 would actually be a smarter placement because then you'd be on dirt rather than on top of sand. But anyway, that's not the point here. The point here is, so again, the base, the way we designed it, was the opening on the east side. So if I go down here, the next one rotated by 90 degrees, so that opening should be on the south side. So there it is. And the game automatically takes care of all the rotation of all the other objects. So for example, all these iron bars are rotated properly still. So it keeps the proper orientation, which is nice. It didn't used to do that. It used to be a pain in the ass to rotate these block files. So there it is. So now rotated by 180 degrees, the opening's on the west side now, which is just what we envisioned it would be. And if we go down here to the last one, the opening is on the north side, just like we thought it would be. So as you can see, the air blocks even trims off the grass that would exist in there. So there you go. That's how we add those files right in there. So even if you wanted to do something like, let's say for just for giggles, let's quit out. Before I do any editing, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our prefab editor, and I'm going to clear all regions. I'm going to go back into our prefabs.xml file, edit this, and I'm going to go and grab the hardware store, which is, since it's right here. I'm going to go down here, I'm going to paste it right above this line so I can have another one. It's a small hardware store. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do the pharmacy because I have actually not seen the pharmacy in Random Gen. So I'll put that one there. And I'm going to move this. So here we have the position XY. So I'm going to move it. Let's move it 100 blocks. So I'll just copy this. And I'll go ahead and set these all back to 60 as well, just so they don't sit on top of the snow. They sit on the ground itself. And I want to move it. I'm not sure how big this object is, so I'm going to go ahead and make it set at 1155. So it should be just up from us a little bit. So we save this file, close this out, we go back to our game. We did clear our file. Start this up. And all right, so there's our existing objects again. Now they're set down. So obviously, actually, this was maybe the world actually is at the right height here. Oh, you notice the snow is not on top of the forest. Anyway, that's one of the things you got to tweak a little bit, and that's one of the problems with the random world generation is making sure the objects actually match where they are. But anyway, over there is our lovely Poppin' Pills store. And you can see it clips in, but they've got the air blocks turned on as well. So it automatically clips into the world properly. So there is, oops, there's some sort of weird behavior going on there. A little drive-up window here with all the pill cases. Oh yeah, get my pills. All right, so that explains, I think, a little bit about how to add these objects into the world themselves and how to do rotations, which is important as you are working on things. So let's go ahead and go back into the editor, and now we're going to play with this building a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll get rid of the extra lines in the XML file. We'll keep the one at the south end. So let's go back, and actually right now we'll leave the background music on. It doesn't hurt, right? So let's go into our prefab editor. Wow, let's do our XML file first. So edit this with Notepad again. Go down to the bottom. We'll get rid of the store and the other bits. And I'm also going to return the rotation of this one to default. So we'll set that to 0. And I'll move it up by 1 since that way it'll sit on top of the forest floor, since I didn't notice before that it was a little funky. So this is also if you wanted to get rid of a certain prefab in your world or add more, not add more of them, but add a version of them. Because you can edit any of the game default ones, you can edit. So that's also kind of fun to do. So let's go ahead and save this XML file. So now we have one object in the world. rotated at the default, so the door is back on the left-hand side. So we'll go back in here. Now we're going to work on the actual editor for a little bit. This is a small prefab, but I want you guys to kind of see how things work in the world. So let's go up here to the top. So there's the top of our object. We can click that button as well. We can zoom it a bit to make it, yeah, just make it nice and big, easy to work with. Okay, so what I want to work with, there's two different kinds of selections here, blocks and entities. Entities are things like zombies, animals, cars. So blocks are all the other blocks in the world. So first thing we're going to do, I want to fill this roof layer in, but what I want to do really is actually go one, I want to add a layer to this thing. So I'm going to go up here to the thing, I'm going to add a layer, let's add a layer. I'm going to insert a layer at 7. Oops, I didn't need to do it that way. So I really want to insert it at 8, I guess. That's what I wanted to insert it at. But what we can do, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to right click. So we're in edit mode right now. I'm going to right click. That's going to copy this block. And then I'm going to go back down to 7. And I'm going to paint in with that block. So there's our, I can kind of hold down the left mouse button and paint that in. So now you always want to kind of go back and forth, make sure you are oriented properly. So this top layer, which I want to work with, I also want to add one more block to the east side. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go ahead and add a column. So I'm going to add a column on the left. No, I want to add it on the right. So no adds a column on the right. Does that make sense? Now, what I want to do over here is I want to put a overhanging roof on here. So what I want to find is I need to find a block. Let's find metal, billboard, trussing. I'm not going to worry too much about what I'm grabbing. Let's use wood frame, barn wedge, brick, cabin wood, shakes, snow. I'm not sure what this looked like. You have to use, you can use your recipes editor to find out what exactly these blocks look like. So you can end up with weird things unless you know exactly what you are. Oh, cabin full wedge. So I'm gonna put a. Oops, I have a. Let me right click and I'm gonna copy that. Get rid of that overhang. So I'm gonna use this cabin full shingles wood. So we got this, and I'm gonna paste this right here. So now we have this wood shingles on the corner. Okay. Now I want more shingles. So I'm gonna go with shingles. Oops. Oh, I can't do a search. Shingles. Full wedge shingles. Probably snow. Let's do snowy. Now I'll just paste those in. Now obviously, orientation matters, and this is where the game becomes a game of trial and error when you're using the editor. So right now, just we'll go back to our, when you switch to info mode, this is where you want to work to modify the placements of anything. So this right now is rotated down west. So what does down west mean? I mean, there's down north, down east, down south, down blah, 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 ups and downs and all this stuff. I don't know. I just don't know. We know that this is north, this is east, this is south, and this is west. So I'm going to just, as a guess, I'm going to say down south. So all of these, now I'm going to copy this one. So I'll go back to edit mode. This is one we want to copy it, paste this. So now these are all down south. So these are down, I'm going to switch this to down east. You go back to info mode. Down east, down east, Okay, now I'll go back here and I'll copy this one and I'll paste it. I have no idea this is going to work, folks. This is a trial by error, as we say. These will do down north. Kind of sounds like it might be this way, but all right. So we'll copy that one. Right click and copy, and then we'll go back to info, and these should be down west. So right now they're just stuck on the outside edge of that concrete. Oops, I want to copy that one. Oops, I need to go to edit mode, right click, and copy that one. All right. And these corners, oh, who knows? The orientation on these, yeah. If you started working with a lot, you can make a little cheat sheet for each one of these, and know that, you know, for this kind of block, this is the orientation for that kind of block. This is why a lot of times I build my objects in creative mode as much as possible, then export them out, trim them, and clean them up. Because trying to do these fiddly little bits in here is a pain in the ass, as you can see. I do want to fill the roof in with something. So again, we'll go shingles, house shingles. I don't want corner. I want inside corner wedges, pyramid, shingles, asphalt flat. Shingles wood. I think that's just the basic block shingles, if that makes sense, everybody. So we'll go here and I'll paste that in there. So I'm going to paste this whole roof full of just shingles. This should be a flat roof, flat shingled roof with an edge around it. So hopefully that's actually what we get. Now let's go down a couple layers. I want to put an entity in here as well. So now we've got, there's the ground floor. So I'm going to go into entities, and we've got some things. These are the things that are entities we can put into the game. So just for example, maybe you want to have a zombie in here. So no matter, even if you have zombies turned off in the game, if you have an entity placed into the game with the prefab, it will always spawn. So let's go ahead and we're going to put, actually, let's park a car. I can't remember. Cars, I believe, are 2 or 3 blocks. So let's see what happens. This might break the world. So we'll find out. Actually, you know what we'll do? Let's do a little funkiness. Let's add a bunch of columns. Let's add a bunch of columns. Let's add multiple columns on the left. No, we want on the right. We're going to add 6 columns. So this makes it 6 blocks wider. Okay. Now I'm going to add a nice blue car right here. So there's our nice blue car. Now again, you can rotate these cars as well. So if I click on the car with info, I can rotate the car. And basically it's the rotation here, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees. You can rotate those cars around. I'm not sure what the existing orientation is, but we'll find out when we open the game. So let's go ahead and save this prefab. So now we've got this prefab saved. I'll save it again because I'm always worried about saving things. I write code for a living, and I've lost too many things by not hitting save a few times. So let's go in now to our world. We did clear the prefab. We did. Okay, I'm paranoid. Let's go back, editor, or world, navscape, prefabs, clear all regions. All right. We don't have to insert that prefab into the world because it's in the XML file now. So as long as we save it, it overwrites this blocky thing TTS file. So those are always resaved. The XML file is all good. So let's go into the world. Continue our game. Prefabs. Start this up. I'm excited to see what happens. I want to watch the roof just fall off. So there's our object. Yeah, our so we were wrong. So there's our car. We got the car in the game. Woohoo! Car is placed, and the car is pretty big, as you can see. So you want to kind of measure these out and make sure you've got space. So it obviously would not have fit in the garage. But and obviously we got the rotation of the blocks all off by 180 degrees or more. So let's go ahead and fly up here. The roof itself is fine. So that part worked just fine. But the rotation, oh, and actually we must have copied the wrong, I got the wrong kind of object, looks like. I must have grabbed the inside corner when I didn't want to grab the inside corner. But I think that, I mean, even though it was a fail, I think that gives you guys the idea of what it is, of how things work. So let's go ahead and hop down here. Bump. Oops. So there's a car, and it's a regular car. I mean, you can shove it around like all the other cars and search it and everything else. And we can go up here and we can see there's our roof. It did work. Everything works on that. We extended the prefab out to add more space to it. And we've been able to duplicate them in the world. So I think this is a good second episode. So in the third episode, we'll fix that a little bit more. I'll do a little off-screen figuring to find out exactly which block I need and what orientations I need. But again, that comes down to trial and error and making your own little cheat sheets for blocks you use if you're going to build it in the editor. So for now, this has been Wrong with the Bold. I hope you liked it. Please leave me comments and questions. I really want to answer your questions about the prefab editor, about how to do things. We'll do the next episode. We're going to do will involve more block placements. We'll go into decals a little bit and damage to blocks, so we can kind of see how those work. So for now, it's been Wrong with the Bold, helping you self-smart, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.